you for staying with us. And today's papers, we're starting with The Nation. Major headline in The Nation: students rally support for tax laws, shelve protest plan. We have obedient movement. Obi won't go for anything less than presidential ticket. Support base swells for Tinubu in Rivers. Military feat in Venezuela, amazing, said Trump. That's so his language. At the bottom strip, we have 1 million to get federal government's digital skills training. Jonathan still active in PDP. Sheikh Harel backs Abba Yusuf against Kwankwaso. Discos earned 570.2 billion naira by end of third quarter 2025. Kwara police exonerate free 6 vigilante members in Edo. And police cleric under probe over alleged plan to attack Wike. What do we have in The Nation?
Oh God, thank you for these 6 vigilante members. So the 6 of them had been traveling in Ifelodu local government area of Kwara State vehicle. So you know, so those interstate vehicles, and they were nabbed in Edo State by military personnel. They were handed over to Kwara State Police, and you know, fortunately for them, according to the PPRO of the command, Brigade General 22 Armored Brigade, Sobi Barracks, Ilorin, Brigadier General Rume, who worked with the police to carry out their investigation and profiling, they have been exonerated to have been, you know, legitimate members of a vigilante group, a community-based vigilante group, and they were just, you know, commuting when they were arrested. Sometimes, you know, we had some issues, I think last year or in 2024, where some groups were just, you know, nabbed in Edo State and they were burnt alive. And then we had, you know, that state issue like that. Unfortunately, these ones, they were handed over to the police. They had the time to be investigated. They had the time to be cleared. And we could, you know, this is how we could have avoided other issues. But we're grateful to God. They've done their job and they've been handed over back to their society, their community.
Yeah, we thank God for them.
Okay, so I have the story where they said support base swells for Tinubu in Rivers expected. They said there is a massive support for the president's re-election in 2027. They say his re-election is gaining momentum in Rivers State. They said prominent traditional rulers, elders, and political stakeholders have openly aligned with the Renewed Hope Family Initiative, spearheaded by Rankaidete Nyesom Wike. They said that he was on a tour, a thank you tour around the local government area, and also people on board Asari Dokubo and the Rivers of Elders Council pledged to mobilize support for the president. And they said Nyesom Wike received them at his palace in Degema, and he vowed to stand firmly behind the president, describing his support as a personal commitment rooted in gratitude and long-standing friendship.
Okay.
Yeah. Said everything that is going to happen, I'll be with you in making sure that my friend, the president, succeeds.
All right. YK,
so, yeah, I took the Shekaram backed Yusuf against Kwakwanso. So the former, he was a former Kano State governor, and yesterday he said in defense of Abba Yusuf joining the APC that his move is not a betrayal, but a legitimate exercise of his political rights. So I love the way politicians know how to just turn things around. Anyway, back to the story. It says it says it was responding to Rabiu Kakwanso's labeling Yusuf a betrayer for joining the APC. Wait, he doesn't remember when he left PDP for APC that time. Now you should remember that he did not relinquish his seats at that time when he was a PDP member and he went to.
What is good for the goose?
Politicians are just like this.
Anyway.
Their life. It's good that
I took the major headline. Why are you done with that story? Or you have more drama?
He said, I've listened to some of my brother Kwakwanso's remarks. To me, Kwakwanso has either forgotten what happened in the past or he thought people had forgotten. Let me remind him. So he proceeded
to remind him.
Please. Oga, now what you do that time?
I will have all
they bite you now.
Let me quickly take the major headline. it's the tax laws again, and this time the students are rallying support for the tax law, and they have shelved their planned protest. And they said that the tax laws have received the backing of students of higher institutions and have shelved their planned protest that was slated for January 14th against the laws. They will now be ambassadors providing enlightenment to the public on tax reform. So the students announced that their new position was as a result of understanding better what these tax laws are about, that they misunderstood. They thought the tax laws was against the poor, but they now understand that this new tax laws is there to protect the poor, to strengthen social protection while ensuring high income earners contribute more equitably to national revenue, preventing lopsidedness and unnecessary tax burdens on few. So now that they have a better understanding, and also one of their protests was, you know, there were stories that the laws were passed even though there were alterations, and now they understand that, you know, all these were not as
it's not really for us, it's for them.
So I think a lot of people had that same feeling where they didn't understand what the laws were about and who it protects most.
Oyedele when he came on the show.
Yeah.
So hopefully it will not be bad for us.
Yeah. Let's go on a short break. When we come back, we'll continue with the papers. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We're still looking at the papers, and on the Punch, major headline, power drain. Electricity subsidy nears 2 trillion naira yearly. 2027, Jonathan pledged active role in PDP, says Turaki. Ekiti poll, opposition parties threaten boycott over PDP exclusion. 3 siblings burnt to death for burial January 14th. Banditry, police free 6 vigilante arrested by army. VIP protection crisis, NSCDC moves to recruit 30,000 officers. ADC ticket, Atiku rejects call to step down, blast Tinubu. IG deploys newly promoted DIG 17 CPs. And finally, recapitalization hurdle, pension firms hunt 277 billion naira lifeline. What do we have in the Punch?
Okay, so despite Band-Aid tariff adjustments, our federal government is owing, for the year between October 2024 and September 2025, our federal government is now owing electricity subsidy of about 2 trillion, almost 2 trillion. And this is because they said that in the absence of cost-reflective tariff, government has undertook to cover the resultant gap between a cost-reflective tariff and allowed tariffs in forms of tariff subsidies. And so whether or not there was this adjustment, government is still having to cover that amount in subsidy, according to the National Electricity Regulation Commission's report that came out this year, quarterly report. And they gave a breakdown of each quarter and how much the federal government has had to cover. And now they have added that to the already outstanding that they have to cover, but which is about 4 trillion that they owe to the GENCOs. But the DISCOs were still able to raise revenue despite lack of light, inconsistent power of about 1.1 trillion. Yeah, sorry, my story is not opening. Yes, 1.3 trillion. Yeah, you know that they were able to get from the electricity bills that we paid, even despite all the blackouts, the power grid collapses, and all of that. There was this area report I got in Abuja for 3 weeks straight, total blackout. Everybody, they carry phone. And so when you try to call by people there, you can't reach them. Their phone is ringing maybe in one rented shop where they are charging it because, you know, they don't have the facility to use a generator. And a lot of those things. But DISCOs are recording profit. We're still recording subsidy. Everybody just making money in the chaos, but it's okay. God will help us and come out from safe.
Okay, so I have the story. So I have the story of the CPs that have been deployed. They said the Inspector General of Police, that's Olukayode, has approved the deployment of the newly promoted Deputy Inspector General of Police alongside 7 commissioners of police to strategic departments, commands and formation across the country. They said that, as Benjamin Hundeyin said, the deployment was aimed at strengthening operational capacity, enhancing leadership effectiveness and improving public safety nationwide. And amongst those who have been deployed are Aina Adesola has been deployed to Delta State Police Command. We have Umar Had Ejia to Kebbi State. There's a long list of all of them. And at the end, he said that they said that they urged the newly deployed officers to provide result-oriented leadership, uphold professionalism and integrity, and ensure strict adherence to the rule of law. We pray that they discharge their duties.
Well,
so mine is a sad story.
Okay.
It's a sad. It's about the 3 Omatu brothers who died in the inferno. You know, apparently I even thought they went inside, but it says they were inside when part of the building collapsed and they were under the rubble. So 3 brothers, Steve 40, Kashmir 39, and Collins 37. They all died. They were trapped in the building and they're believed to have died in the fire. There's a surviving twin. So one of them must have been a twin. Camillus escaped. So they're burying them on the 14th of January, and their sister put on Facebook that the burial date for our brothers has been scheduled for the 14th, and I humbly request your prayers for divine protection over my family. I think it's so sad, and I use the opportunity to pray for the repose of their souls and for the surviving members. May God give you the fortitude to bear the loss.
Thank you, Waike, for ending it that way. Let's move on to our next paper, Daily Sun. Major headline: terrorists plant explosives in Niger farms others. Military bust suspected suicide bombing network in Northeast. Young adults hit hardest in 1,119 Lassa fever cases. CSO slam fiscal rascality in Tinubu NAS budget repeal. Support Tinubu to sustain progress, Wike urges Rivers voters. The Sun Awards will make us do more, Governors Imba and Yusuf. And finally, 2027, no aspirant will step down in ADC presidential primary, says Atiku. What do we have in the Daily Sun?
I have the terrorist story. So the troops of the Operation Hadinkai, led by their Oga, but the spokesperson of this joint task force was speaking on how they busted a terrorist suicide bombing gang somewhere, and in the Northeast they said they carried this cordon and search operation, in the Yan Lemo area of Mobile South local government area of Adamawa State, and they busted them and they got some group of suicide bombing network, and they intercepted one man among the group who is a terrorist logistics supplier, and some items were recovered from him: cash, mobile phones, identification documents, ATM, jewelries, others. They were seized from the suspect in his residence during search, and he's been handed over, of course. The troops also seized they were also able to intercept a large consignment of suspected terrorist logistics in Mayo Nguli Mali had local government area in the same Adamawa State. They seized 45 jerry cans of petroleum or petrol, and a total volume of approximately 1,125 liters suspected to have been smuggled for terrorist use. So I like that, they're dealing with these small cells, because when we finally hear bam, we will think that the military are not doing anything.
Yeah, we're happy that they're able to intercept this before.
Yes, and I hope that we amend our laws quickly so that they don't get off finally during prosecution with a lesser.
What else do we have in the
Okay, so I have the story on Lassa fever. They say Lassa fever has claimed 206 lives across Nigeria in 2025, which 5 deaths recorded in a single week. And they are saying that there are fresh cases coming up, and this report showed that the fresh cases are coming from recorded in Bauchi, Ondo, Taraba, Edo, Kogi, Ebonyi, and Plateau states. And they are saying that they are asking the state governors that because of these fresh cases that are coming up, they are saying that the agency has warned against complacency, and as Nigeria enters the peak Lassa fever season, urging state governments to intensify community engagement early. That they should make sure that they curb this thing so that it doesn't still spread around all other states. So the earlier the better for all the governors to start making conscious efforts to make sure that it doesn't continue.
Why could you have any story in the Sun?
She took my story.
Let's quickly look at the Vanguard then.
No, the troops.
It's the major headline.
It's not the major headline.
Terrorists
Which one? Whose story?
Okay, let's just go on to the Vanguard. Terrorists on
What's
rampage in Kwara, Katsina, Kaduna, many abducted. Stop justifying violence, Catholic pontiff tells political leaders. Oyo suspends monarch over illegal mining. Rivers, you can't cry foul now. Turaki's PDP blasts APC over Wike. And fulfilled establishing a world-class varsity. Says Afe Babalola. COAS visits IBB, Abdusalami, Governor Bago promises enhanced security. 2025 AFCON, it's Super Eagles, Algeria in quarterfinals. At the very top, we have U.S. operation in Venezuela undermined international law. This according to the United Nations. Nigeria's democracy facing existential threat. According to Atiku, police cleared 6 vigilantes in Kwara. We've taken that. And then 5.36 million electricity customers remain without meters. What do we have in the Vanguard?
Okay, hope I didn't take your story.
So why would like to start first? Do you have a story in the Vanguard?
She can't take my story. This one, she won't take my story.
Okay.
Hopefully not.
Okay.
Okay, so Oyo State government has suspended one of their monarchs in Oyo. According to the Special Assistant to the Governor on Print Media, Mr. Moses Alao, they announced the suspension of the Shobaloju of Ofiki in Atisho local government area of Oyo State, who was said to have contravened the suspension of a gazetted area. He violated that state's executive order, which gazetted an area as the asset of Oyo State by trespassing into it. And they said for that reason he's been suspended. This is so that, according to the letter that was handed over to him by the Director of Chieftaincy Matters in the Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Matters in Oyo State, A.M. Olajire. This is to allow for proper investigation. He's supposed to step aside during his suspension and allow for proper investigation. Also, is a precautionary measure to ensure the integrity of the investigation. And they've directed that this chief should refrain from all activities relating to mining and not to interfere with the investigation into allegations against him. So illegal mining was also captured in Ogun State in the same story, but I think it's important we also, structure this mining thing properly.
So I took the story about the Catholic Pope. The Pope has called for the world leaders to embrace peace. He made this plea on this year's World Peace Day. Part of the message read, in today's world, justice and human dignity are at an alarming risk amid global power imbalances. How can we live in this time of destabilization and conflict and free ourselves from evil? We need to encourage and support every spiritual, cultural, and political initiative that keeps hope alive. He said we are living we treat peace as an ideal. When we treat peace as an ideal, we cease to be scandalized when it is denied. And, we are seeing it happen in the world, all over the world today. So he says we seem to lack those right ideas, the well-considered words and ability to say that peace is near. So
I hope he called Trump's name at the end of that conversation. All right, that's all we can take from the papers today. We'll go on a short break. When we return, we move to our hot topic. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.